Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Asher Marketing Podcast. This podcast is hosted by Asher Agency, a full-service partner to clients nationwide. Asher's services include media planning, creative, digital and social, website development, public relations, printing and fulfillment, and more. Anything you need to connect with your prospects and tell your story. To learn more, visit asheragency.com or contact us at hello@asheragency.com. My guest is Jared Bauman. Jared, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am great. Is it true that you are still Asher's newest employee? Is that accurate?
I believe as of today, yeah.
Because
I'm still the new guy.
Yeah, we hired a bunch of people, and I can't keep straight who we hired when.
It's funny you say that because when I joined, I'm starting to meet people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how long have you been here? How long have you been here? And they're like, 2 months, 3 months,
Yeah.
6 months. I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of it,
Yeah.
new people.
Well, and you also been like, what's wrong with this place? Everyone has only been here for 3 months.
Right.
Well, and then you meet old farts like me who've been here for 20 years.
Well, there's been people, like Jill's been here for 32, I think, and you've been here for 20, and then there's me who's been here for like 3 months. So it's a good mix.
Well, long enough to be on the podcast.
Right.
How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for
really
having
appreciate it. You and I have had a chance to talk a little bit, but I'm interested in hearing more of your story. And one of the things I usually start with is career path. Mm-hmm. So you're in a career path that people usually don't start with. I know a lot of people in the video world, maybe they started as photographers, maybe they were doing something completely different. But it seems like there's a through line where this is what you've always done.
Yep.
Is that something you knew you wanted to do at a young age, or did you kind of figure it out later?
I didn't necessarily know at a young age. I always liked working with my hands.
Yeah.
I was never... I didn't like sitting in class and just, the books and all that stuff. So I always wanted to use my hands. I loved doing video projects in high school.
Yeah.
Went to school for it. And
this is in Michigan, correct?
Yes. So I should say I was born here in Fort Wayne, moved away when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
And when COVID hit, everything kind of went remote. I came back.
Mm-hmm.
Always kind of knew I wanted to come back.
Yeah.
Didn't know when or how. The remote thing kind of enabled me to do so. But yeah, going back, I liked working with the cameras. And then once I kind of got in an edit suite, I fell in love with editing. Mm-hmm. And in video nowadays, especially, you're shooting, you're editing, you're doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate. I got into a place, I was 20 years old, I believe. Forest Post was the name of it. Big post-production house in Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Yep.
It was the lowest of the low, and this will tell you how old I am, or I'll date myself a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
When I got in, there were still reel-to-reels, VHS dubs.
Yeah.
Everything was tape to tape. There was, I think, 2 or 3 Avid machines, which is the nonlinear.
Yeah.
Which everything went to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was the low guy in the totem pole, running cables, crawling under the floor, doing all the grunt work. But I was an assistant editor and a dub tech. So, I'd be running dubs at night, helping editors during the day. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I always tell young people is to just learn as much as you can, soak it in. Yeah. I would find editors that would let me kind of shadow them and just learn as much as I could. And before I knew it, I had worked my way up to the number one assistant editor. And I think I was 21 years old, assisting on national TV spots.
Wow. Yeah.
And for a 21-year-old to be in a national TV spot is kind of unheard of. I was probably a little over my head, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I was working overnight sometimes. I didn't have kids at the time. So, I just put in the work and learned as much as I could. And I loved it. And that was a great start for me. And from there, 2 of the editors and myself, we actually kind of branched out and we started our own business, which I did for about, I think, 12 years or so.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, starting a video business back then was super fun, super cool, but I didn't realize it was 30% video and 70% business.
Oh. Well, and you have to spend a lot of money up front, right?
There was some upfront investments. There was some,
So you wanted to do the video part, but the business part,
I guess we were just naive, and we were, we had a handful of clients, so we started doing work, but then it was like, there's sales, there's marketing, there's the business stuff. We got to hire an accountant. We got like all of this stuff that none of us really, I don't think, saw coming.
Sure.
And it worked for a while, but it was great. It was a good experience because it opened me up to just learn so many things. At Forest Post, it was all edit. It was all post. When we were running the business, I got my hands back on a camera, back in the field, lighting, audio. There was edit too, but also it teaches you marketing, it teaches you sales, it teaches you how to talk to a client, which, as you know, I mean, that's half the battle is how to communicate with people. Did a ton of stuff, met a ton of cool people, some of them which I still talk to today. So that was a great experience. Again, I was in my 20s and into my early 30s that we did that, and just learned a ton, did a ton of cool stuff. From there, I went to an agency in Detroit, which I stayed at for about 12 or 13 years.
Yeah.
Applied a lot of the same stuff. Started out just shooting and editing. A lot of corporate stuff, but that agency opened me up to bigger clients, Ford, GM, just some really, a diverse level of client from mom and pop up to GM. But by the time I left there, I was actually running the production department.
Okay.
So I got experience managing people, dealing with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Learned producing, learned directing, learned, script writing. I always tell people, if you want a bad script, let me know. But I learned how to do it,
Yeah. At least you recognize, that it's not the best, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can get you there, but it might not be pretty.
Yeah, there are people I know who would give you a bad script and tell you it was a good script.
Yeah,
so,
and that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me.
So was it difficult for you going from business owner back to working in someone else's business? Was that a challenge?
Not really. Somebody said that once you own the business, you'll never be able to go back and do that.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah, I was okay with it. It was running.
You kind of seen the reality of it.
Running the business was great. It was extremely stressful. I started having, one of the reasons I left is I started having kids, and I couldn't turn it off. I'd be at home talking to my wife or something, and my mind is still back at the business. So I was ready for a change.
Yeah.
And the place I went to was great. So we started, there was I had great coworkers. We were doing some fun projects. So it was fine. I left all the business stuff behind and just focused on video. Yeah. Which is what I needed at the time. Yeah. So it was easy. It was an easy transition.
Yeah. So you're there for about 13 years.
At the agency.
At the agency.
Yep.
Yeah. You're doing work with big brands, doing what you want to do. So why did you decide to make a change? How did you end up here at Asher?
COVID.
Tell me more.
No, it was
just being home and being.
No, to be honest with you, it was one of those things where I always knew I wanted to move back. Yeah. To Fort Wayne. My son was going into college. Yep. My daughter into high school. Yep. We're all remote for the most part. So my wife and I are talking one day, and I said, what do you think about making the jump? And she was ready to go. Yeah. I teased my son. I'm like, you didn't really get a vote because you were going away to college. But, we asked my daughter who's going into high school. And that's a big jump for a high school kid.
You've got a friend group you've built up for a number of years.
Right. Yeah. Now, hey, what do you think about moving 3 hours
away? Where you don't know anyone.
Exactly. Yeah. She was all for it.
So she was up for the adventure.
She was up for it.
Yeah, that's great.
She was up for it.
Yeah.
So we made the jump back and continued to work for the agency in Detroit. I was remote, and I'd go back for shoots or for when needed. But I started reaching out to people here in Fort Wayne because I knew I wanted to come local.
Yeah, sure.
Met a bunch of the people in town. Everybody was awesome. Met Jen Roberts. I don't remember the month was, but it was getting kind of near the end of the year. And Asher wasn't hiring at the time. Yeah. But she, we had talked about doing some freelance work. Yeah. So I said, I would absolutely be, up for that. So around mid-December, she calls me, says, hey, I have this freelance edit if you're interested. Well, yeah. Let's do it. So I did it, and that kind of started the relationship with Asher. So I don't know who here knows that, but I've been freelancing for Asher for probably a year, maybe two. Yeah. Met Kara along the way, met Megan along the way. Met a handful of the other account people and whatnot
through
email and stuff. But I knew, I don't know, a handful of jobs in, this is where I wanted to be.
Okay.
Because the work was great. The people were amazing, are amazing.
Yeah. Part of that is you didn't meet me during that time.
Well, yeah,
so.
they kept you away.
They usually do. They kept to Ash's credit. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of how I came to be here at Asher. Was just a freelance edit.
Yeah.
And then a few more, and we just built a relationship. And when they were ready, when Kara and Megan were ready to bring me on, I was ready to roll.
Well, it's a great thing for us. You know, we've long had a need for someone in-house who can do video.
Yeah.
I was really excited when I heard we were going to make that investment. When Sean O'Leary started, Sean, who's a great designer, one of the things that was proposed is, well, Sean's got a lot of great skills in photo and video. He'll do that as part of his job.
Right.
And then Sean gets here and he's inundated with design work. And that really never happened in the way that was originally conceived. So it's been a need for a number of years, and it's really great to have you on board.
Yeah, I love it here. And Sean, I mean, he'll tell you, video is not a 5-minute, like, just throw this together. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does. And it needs that level of commitment. And, it's great that now we have you in-house. We have Sean as kind of a great second set of eyes, along with Jen and the rest of the team. And we have great vendors who we're still going to work with and, rely upon them for some of the work that we need when you're either booked or it's, outside your comfort zone. So tell me, what was your perception of Asher when you were just starting to get to know people, and how has that changed, if at all, coming on board?
I didn't really have a perception or any preconceived notions. I just kind of came in. I had been at that other place for 13 years. So, I mean, that was like, that's what I knew. Yeah. So I wasn't sure what to expect.
Yeah.
Everybody has been really cool. I'll say this about Asher and the team. I haven't met anybody with a big ego or anyone that's going to give you any of the business about it. But when you need help, you don't have to ask.
Yeah.
There's people, and this, there's people there. And when the Asher team comes, or when somebody comes, you're not getting two people.
Yeah.
You're getting the whole team. I mean, everybody's ready to jump in and help.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit unique. I don't know that I can say that I've seen that before, where it's, the other day I was asking one of the guys, hey, how do you do this? Or he was asking me, like, if I'm going to give you this stuff, how do you want it? Before you know it, there's 5 of us, 6 of us around the computer all. Yeah. I mean, it's like everybody's willing to help.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I think, my experience is that everybody here kind of has like a heart of service.
Yeah.
It's like they want to help clients. They want to help their teammates. And like you said, there's not a lot of egos. And it's funny because I tell our young people, our people who are just out of college or just getting started in their career, I say, in some respects, this is the worst place to have a first job, because you think other jobs are going to be like this. I've worked at jobs where there were people who would show up, and I think they just went out of their way to make everyone else's day worse. And I genuinely don't experience that here. Again, I am making and drinking the Kool-Aid, so maybe other people's experience is different, but it is kind of unique in that way.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I've worked with some people that, obviously have the egos or their way is the only way and all this other stuff. I haven't seen that here.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing.
Well, some of that's top down. I mean, Kara's just a genuine person. She and Megan both, I don't think they would allow that, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
I've had Kara look at me and be like, okay, I need to stop. I'm the biggest jerk in the room and I need to slow down. So, hopefully I've mellowed over the years.
Well, yeah, I mean, just from what I've seen, Kara and Megan both, they'll get their hands dirty.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
They won't shy away from it at all.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, this is great.
Yeah. Well, and that's viral, right? If you see the owner of the business doing something that's outside of, their job description, you're going to be more likely to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, enough happy talk about Asher. What's something that surprised you that you were like, oh, that I didn't see coming? Anything at all that any dirt on Asher that you want to share with our podcast listeners?
Oh my gosh. No, I can't say it I can't say it here.
See, everyone, there's no dirt.
There's no dirt. I've been here for 3 months. I haven't really dug up any dirt.
We'll have you back later.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I find any.
Yeah. Okay. So to the extent that you can share, what are some of the things you're working on? What are big projects that are on your plate that you're excited about, or things that you're looking forward to that are coming up?
Honestly, this is going to sound so cliche, but my favorite job is the next job. And what I mean is, like I said, I've been here for 3 months. So I'm excited just to meet all of these clients.
Yeah.
And, when we're working on, I don't know, Pizza Factory and Scooters and Goshen College and Indiana Tech and all these companies, they're all new to me.
Yeah.
So it's all exciting to me. I want to meet these people and I want to get out there and I want to work with them.
Yeah.
I'll say Ford. We got Ford coming up.
Yep.
I've been working on that for a good 10 years or so now. I'm actually going there tomorrow to do a site survey.
If you don't mind, let's talk about that project a little bit, because it's super interesting, at least to me. So it might just be an audience of one.
Yeah, that's all right.
But tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Ford, the history of that, and how that has now landed here at Asher.
So Ford does a global, a global philanthropic. They recognize 6 dealers globally,
and this is Salute to Dealers.
It's called the Salute to Dealers program. I believe it was started by Edsel Ford II.
Okay.
His son Henry Ford III now runs it.
Yeah.
So they award 6 dealers globally, 3 in the U.S. and 3 globally, or out of the country.
Yeah.
For their philanthropic, giving and charitable donations and that kind of stuff. So we will travel around and interview, do a profile piece on each one of these dealers.
Oh, wow.
It starts with an intro video that we'll go and film Henry Ford III, and he does his thing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going tomorrow to do a site survey with them.
So how long have you been working with Henry Ford III?
I think he jumped on about 5-6 years ago. Before that, it was Edsel Ford.
So is that intimidating for you, or is it?
No, I don't think so. Honestly, I used to get intimidated. Can I brag a little bit?
Please.
I used to get intimidated a little bit, but over the years, especially at the agency in Detroit, being GM was one of our big clients. So I've interviewed, with GM, there was Chevy Racing. So I've interviewed, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, if you're NASCAR people, and a bunch of others. Spike Lee, Anthony Anderson.
For a minute, I was trying to think what Spike Lee had to do with NASCAR.
I'm not thinking he was.
I'm with you now. I caught up. Yeah,
absolutely nothing. But he was with Cadillac. Anthony Anderson and Regina King. We've done Matthew Stafford. He was with the Lions.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've interviewed some people. Guy Fieri was another one that was. He was a little intimidating, but super cool. Because these people come. They come with their entourage.
So you're kind of desensitized to it at this point.
So now I just kind of go and I do my thing. I will tell you a funny story. The most intimidating one was Anthony Anderson. I don't know if you know who he is. I was younger, just starting to kind of interview people, and they put us off in this room on the side. It was down in Miami.
Yeah.
And there's these directors' chairs, and I'm from you to me.
Yeah.
And I got my questions, and I'm like, he's like the big star.
Yeah.
And he starts singing.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
And he's like, sing with me. And I'm like, oh, God. What?
Yeah.
And he's just making fun of me and joking around.
I would have been just covered in sweat.
I was nervous. I was probably shaking.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
But he was super nice at the end of it. But at first, I was just like freaking out a little bit. And so, that was kind of a thing. But interviewing quote unquote famous people. I mean, I'm sure if it was someone massively famous, I'd be a little intimidated.
Sure.
But no, Henry Ford, he comes in, super nice guy.
Yeah.
He comes in, he's just like, hey, how you doing? Like he's just another guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll do that program, and the videos will play at the NADA in the end of January, I think. I mean, they move it around. I think it's in New Orleans this year. Last year, I think it was in Dallas. But it's a fun job. I've been doing, like I said, for about 10 years. This is the 25th year of the program.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just it's
Yeah.
a
Well,
good
that's
time,
cool.
and everybody's great when you go to meet these dealers. You're there to make them look good,
Mm-hmm.
so they're more than
Yeah.
they want to do whatever you want to
Sure.
do.
Sure.
They'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, and that's kudos to you for building that relationship and keeping it over the years and building that trust where people are comfortable telling their story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Well, and you and I get to work together on a couple college shoots that are coming up,
Yep.
which are always fun. The only catch is we need good weather for those.
Yep.
So let's say
We'll
a
pray
prayer
for
to the
good
weather
weather.
gods.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else is on your plate that's exciting to you? What else are you kind of looking forward to? And I'm sure one of the things that's on your mind is just kind of getting settled in and figuring out, what your day-to-day is going to look like.
Yeah, it's absolutely getting settled in. I mean, it took a minute to get. We're still getting equipment in.
Yeah.
The new cameras and lights and all the mics and all the new stuff. I mean, I've only, as of this recording, I've been on one shoot with it, so
Yeah.
I'm still getting used to the cameras and everything.
Okay, so this is equipment that, along with bringing you on board, Asher is saying we're going to build out this kit.
So Asher brought me on,
Yeah.
and then I've been tasked with kind of building
Yeah.
the equipment. And it's technology. You're always going to chase that. So there's always going to be. I tease Megan. I'm like, I'll spend money as long as you let me.
Yeah.
There's always more equipment to buy.
I'm also great at spending other people's money. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we bought some lens kits. We bought cameras and tripods and lights and all the stuff you see here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been out once with it and great shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But with anything, you got to learn
Yeah.
the ins and outs and this will do that or whatever. But so there's that. But yeah, I'm excited to, like I said, to meet some of these new clients, kind of get my hands dirty and work with the team. The creative team is great.
Yeah.
Working with them, working on some spots. Mary and I have sat down, kind of kicked ideas back and forth about a script. Jen and I we kick ideas back and forth about shots and angles and all kinds of stuff. And working with Sean and Chris and I mean, it's just everybody's been awesome. So it's just fun being part of that team where everybody just kind of works together.
Yeah. Well,
And
you have to. There's times it looks good on paper, and then you get to the shoot, it's like it's not quite working.
At the end of the day, it's about what you see on screen. It's about the end product. It's not about me or you or whoever.
Yeah.
It's just let's make this awesome.
Yeah.
And that's what I love doing.
Yeah, and you'll find out that this podcast is my sneaky way of figuring out what's really going on in Azure. So you don't do any photography then? It's all video? Is that
All
true?
video.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, I want to pivot to some quick hit questions that bring together some of the things we've talked about, but ideally in a more concise way.
Okay.
Tell us, you've had a lot of great experiences working with some great people. You've been a business owner. You've decided to go back to working for someone else. What's the lesson you've learned in all that about what it takes to build a fulfilling and successful career? If you were giving advice to somebody, maybe one of your kids or someone else, what do you think people should focus on if they want to be happy in their work?
That's a good question. Don't be the smartest guy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Find good people.
Mm-hmm.
Try to emulate and follow them.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to them.
Yeah.
Even if you know what you're talking about, listen to them because there's a million ways to do one thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would tell somebody. Just get in, learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
It can be intimidating, certain things.
Yeah.
But just do it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're always going to wonder.
Yeah.
So something like that's what I would say.
All right. What about something that is a myth or misconception about the work you do? It could be working at an agency. It could be working in video. It could even be, what it's like to be a business owner. Something that you think people get wrong that you want to clear up, or maybe something that's not well enough understood that you think should be amplified.
I don't know that it's a misconception, but it's happened to me on more than one occasion where I'll meet somebody and we're talking and they're like, well, what do you do? I said, I do video. I guarantee their response, oh, that's fun. Well, it's fun, but there's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah.
It's, people think, I bought a camera, so I'm a photographer or a videographer, or, I know how to run such and such a program. I'm an editor.
Yeah.
And it's anybody can go buy a camera. It takes,
Well, today you can just buy a phone.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I've seen clients that say, yeah, well, they don't want to hire you because that's too expensive or whatever. We have a phone. Joe down in accounting has a phone. He'll do it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you 2 weeks later they call you and we need you to come out.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if that's a misconception, but everybody thinks video is just fun. And to me it is, and it's a fun job.
Yeah.
But there's so much that goes into it. And I tell people, like, in the pre-production stage, there's so much work that goes into shot lists and locations and talent and the purpose of the whole thing and everything you're doing. Like, hitting record is like the last thing you do.
The video part of video is like 5%.
Exactly. Everything else is the planning that people want to just kind of glaze over
100%.
and just like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
And it's not like that at all.
Yeah. All of that stuff you see wasn't an accident. Somebody had to
exactly.
plan it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a great observation. I mean, I see that in action when our team is working on, whether it's a spot or whether it's a longer form video. And it's always a miracle when it comes together.
Yeah.
But it always does.
Yeah.
But it's because people know what it takes to get it done, and it's not just push the button and everything works out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something that's extremely intimidating is when you sit down to an edit suite.
Yeah.
And you have an empty timeline and 1,000 clips, and you haven't done the pre-production and you don't know you're like, oh, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, that's a lonely feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So.
It just got real dark here on the Asher Marketing Podcast. It's a lonely feeling. Yeah. Okay. Let's recover from that. So, one more question.
Yes.
What is something you use in your work? Could be a tool, could be a hack, could be a tip, could be a trick. Doesn't have to be any of those things that helps you get the job done, because you are taking, this footage, you're trying to tell a story with it. You're out shooting, you're editing, you're doing all these other things. What is your secret weapon, if you will, that helps you do that well?
I don't know that I have a secret weapon.
Yeah.
But I will say, don't be afraid to experiment with things when you're out in the field on a location filming something. And what I mean by that is, just because all you have is, say, a camera and a tripod or whatever. Yeah. Don't be afraid to find little props and little things that will help you. One example, I've run across a guy, Phil Swantek, great friend of mine. I've known him for years. He did this once, and it blew my mind. This is way back in the day, but it was so simple. So we're shooting somebody, and we need some foreground perspective. Well, he goes and he kind of breaks a little branch off a tree, puts the leaves in front of the lens. So now there's that foreground element, and as the camera goes forward, he kind of pulls it back, and it looks like the camera's kind of traveling through the. And I thought, here I'm looking for like a tree. How can we position the camera on a tree? He brings the tree to me, you know.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
It's where experience comes in, right?
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I've seen guys on little segways, those little two-wheel things.
Yeah.
Those are your makeshift.
Dollies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I would say don't be afraid to test the limits and do maybe some things that aren't quote unquote video.
Yeah.
Video equipment or dollies or whatever. Make your own.
Yeah. So the trick is create your own trick and be open to trying new things. If they don't work, you're no worse off.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Well, Jared, this was fun. Thanks for doing it. Really appreciate it. Really absolutely. Glad you are on board at Asher. Excited to work with you.
Yeah, great to be here. Appreciate the time.
Well, thank you. And thanks to everyone who took the opportunity to listen to this episode of the Asher Marketing Podcast. We'll be back next time with another great guest, and we hope you'll join us then.